We're back after a week absence of no All the Talk, All the Sports podcasts. It's good to be back for sure. But during that week of absence with no podcast, college basketball wrapped up their first week of the season, and man, was it good. There were so many great ranked matchups, lots of upsets early on in the season, and things getting shaken up in the top 25. College football, the top 4, that's who gets to make the college football playoff. They're on the hunt right now to lock in those top 4 seeds as college football pushes towards the playoffs. NFL is moving along just nicely. Week 12, just wrapped up today, Wednesday, as the Steelers defeated the Ravens to move to 11-0. NBA tips off in a couple of weeks. It's an exciting time to be a sports fan. Today on All the Talk, All the Sports, we'll review some college basketball, we'll talk some college football, and NFL as well. This is coming up on All the Talk, All the Sports. This past week of college basketball has been crazy, but even last night was crazy. By last night, I'm talking Tuesday, December 1st, the first day of the December month, with the number 8 Michigan Spartans taking down the number 6 Duke Blue Devils by a score of 75-69. Their largest lead in that game was 16 points. They let Duke crawl back into it late, but the Sparty Nation did end up holding on to knock off the number 6 team in the nation. Michigan State looked really good last night. And that wasn't even the best game. In my opinion, the best game was the later game, and this was between the number 7 Kansas Jayhawks and the number 20 Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky had a commanding lead almost the whole first half, but they were not able to hold the commanding lead, and Kansas ended up winning 65-62. That was a great game that went deep into the night, ended around close to midnight. Kansas did walk away with a victory there. And then tonight, Wednesday, December 2nd, if you're watching this right now, the number 17 Texas Longhorns defeated the number 14 North Carolina Tar Heels in the Camping World Maui Invitational. They won that 69-67. That's always great. The one thing I love about college basketball at the beginning of the season is the tournaments that they have and the little invitationals they have. There's one in Indianapolis right now. That's the one Kansas and Kentucky were in last night. The Maui one. That one's always good. That started, I think, the day after Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Day. So there's lots going on in college basketball, and I love college basketball because this is how it's unlike any other sport in college sports. College basketball, they typically start by matching 2 teams up that are ranked pretty high, so you'll get some good games right out of the gate. You'll get to see, hey, this team was either ranked way too high, they're not this good, and they'll fall in the rankings, or hey, this team needs some love, and they move up in the rankings. So it gets a good feel of what each team is bringing to the table this season. Obviously, it's early this season, so there's still a lot of basketball to be played. This is all basically non-conference basketball right now. As we speak right now, the number 11 West Virginia Mountaineers are taking on the number 1 Gonzaga Bulldogs, and I want to talk about Gonzaga for a little bit. This is a team that is amazing. It's pretty plain and simple. They're averaging, let me look how many points they're averaging. They're 2-0. In the 2 games that they have played against Kansas, they put up over 100 points. Against Auburn, they put up 90, so they are averaging somewhere in the 90s. Of points. Their defense is outstanding. They just play all around good basketball. Gonzaga is not a big school, but it's a basketball school, and I think this team you might see win a national championship this year. They always make it deep into March Madness, but they really they have come up with a bunch of titles. They play Baylor on Saturday, so that's going to be a good game to watch. That's at 1 o'clock on CBS. The number 1 team against the number 2 team, so make sure to watch that. I'll be watching Ohio State, but I'll definitely be checking in on the score. Might interrupt your college football Saturday there for a quick little 2-hour showdown between the top 2 teams in the country. College basketball is crazy. It's mayhem. That's why I love it. So let's move away from college basketball a little and move towards football, college football, that is. The rankings have been announced. I want to talk about Ohio State and their ranking. As an Ohio State fan, that's right. The number one team is Alabama. That's no shock. They're undefeated. They should be number one. There's no question in my mind they should be number one. Everything I've seen, every ranked team they've played, they've dominated. They've won every game pretty handily. Haven't had to break a sweat yet. Notre Dame's a 2. I respect that as well. They're undefeated. There's 2 undefeated Power 5 teams in college football right now. Alabama and Notre Dame, of course, they're going to be ranked 1 and 2. Clemson at 3, I don't like that much. I think they should be at 4, maybe 5. And Ohio State at 4, I don't like either. The only thing is, who are you going to replace both Clemson and Ohio State with? You could say you could push up Texas A&M and Florida, but they both have 1 loss. Alabama has played 8 games. They are 8-0. Notre Dame has played 9. They're 9-0. Clemson's 8-1, and this is where it gets interesting. Ohio State is 4-0. So they've had 2 cancellations this season. They have 2 more games remaining on their schedule. That's Michigan State and Michigan. If one of those games gets canceled, they will not be able to play in the college football playoffs. 4-0 is not good on Buckeye standards. The eye test, from what I've seen, the Ohio State has some problems they need to fix, for sure. Their secondary is less than great. It's pretty awful. They seem to let teams back into the games late, so that's not good as well. They beat Indiana by a touchdown. They beat what was winless Penn State team before they came back and won against, who was it? I think Iowa. No, it was against Michigan. So they haven't really had a commanding win outside of week 1 against Nebraska, and even then they still gave up 17 points. Ohio State scares me a little bit because 4 games is not enough. Even if they play 5, because one of those games gets postponed, canceled, whatever you want to call it, 5 games is not enough to get in the college football playoff, in my opinion. Because David Pollack of ESPN brought up a great point. How is 5 games good enough to make the playoffs? Because then if you're one of the other teams that's missing out, that's played 10 games, 10, 11 games, then what was the point of their season if they have 1 loss? Or if you're Cincinnati, you go undefeated with a conference championship. What was the point of the season there? So I don't like a 5-0 team in Ohio State making the college football playoffs. I don't even think they should be 4 right now. Honestly, I think they should be around 6, 7, somewhere around there. But Ohio State, if they win against Michigan State and Michigan and win the Big Ten championship game and go 7-0, I think that's a different story. 7 games, if you win pretty handily and improve and show the committee you are one of the best 4 teams in the country, then I think they can make a playoff push, and I think they will make the playoffs if they win those 3 games. But if one of those 2 games against Michigan State and Michigan gets postponed, Big Ten's just calling it canceled. They are not remaking the games. We've heard a lot of postpone and cancel in 2020. But if those 2 games, one of those 2 games gets canceled, they miss the Big Ten championship game. They miss the playoffs. So these 2 are big 2 games coming up for Ohio State. You got to make sure you're doing the right things in the program. So other than that, I think Texas A&M and Florida should be flipped. I think Florida is the 5th best team in the nation. Texas A&M's the 6th. Cincinnati, I actually lied there. I think Cincinnati should be 6-5. They're 8-0. They've played UCF and SMU, which are decent teams. If they win a conference championship game and go 11-0 or 10-0, I think Cincinnati might make the playoffs if Texas A&M, Florida, and Ohio State all have issues with either COVID-19 or a couple losses thrown in there. So I think Cincinnati should make the playoffs. They are a really good team. They've shown me that they are a really good team and that I think they compete. But I think they can compete with top 4 teams in the nation. But then you look at it, can Cincinnati compete with Alabama? Maybe not. I can see them competing with Notre Dame. But Alabama, they'd probably be a 4 seed and lock that up. Here's what I don't like. I don't like BYU at 13. BYU is in the same boat as Cincinnati. They are 9-0 though. But the thing about BYU is their strength of schedule is not nearly as high as Cincinnati or the other top teams in bigger conferences. They really haven't played anyone too big of names, but from what I've seen from BYU, they are dominant. In my opinion, they should be around the 8-9 seed. Let's talk some NFL here. Steelers, like I mentioned before, they are now 11-0. They have a commanding lead in the AFC North, The Browns, how about this? The Browns have the fourth best record in football right now. This is a Browns team that has turned this program around, and I love the Browns. I talk about it a lot on the podcast. So the Browns, congratulations to them. I think they have a bunch more wins coming for them and a playoff spot with their name on it. Buffalo leads the AFC East pretty handily. The Dolphins knocking on the door, though. I think the Bills win that division. Tennessee and Indianapolis are battling it out for the AFC South. I'm actually going to take the Colts to win this division. The AFC West, pretty cut and dry now that Las Vegas, the Raiders, have lost a few games. Kansas City looks pretty good right now with Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. NFC East, what's new? Washington and New York lead the way there. They're both 4-7. The Eagles are 3-7-1, and Dallas is 3-8. With that win against the Bears on Sunday night, I think the Packers locked up the NFC North. The NFC South, I think the Saints have that division under control with the Buccaneers losing to the Chiefs on Sunday. And the NFC West, I think Arizona is now eliminated, and the Rams are now not. I don't think the Rams win it now. I have the Seahawks. The Seahawks look pretty dominant right now. But the Seahawks did take a little bit of a scare. Was that last night? Maybe Monday night from the Philadelphia Eagles. So NFL is crazy, college basketball is crazy, and college football is crazy. That's all we have today on All the Talk, All the Sports. Before we go, I'd like to announce I am now a writer at FloridaTeams.com, FLTeams.com. You can go check them out. It's run by a good friend of mine down in Florida. He loves Florida sports. He's a great guy. So make sure to go check that website out. They produce some great content. So that wraps that up. It's been a great episode on All the Talk, All the Sports. We'll see you again on Friday with some predictions for the NFL games.